I Just Don't Know What Went Right by DerpyDitzyDerpyDo. Part 1, Chapter 1. Don't Apologize.
Please, Your Highness, I beg your forgiveness.
What did I do to deserve this?
Please, I have a wife and kids. Don't execute me. If you must punish me, then at least grant me the mercy of exile. Please.
I have not exiled one of my subjects in over 700 years. I don't think I've ever executed even a single pony. Why must they always fear me so? Genoa Cake groveled miserably before me, little rivulets of tears and snot dribbling down his face as he clung to my leg. He was one of the new culinary staff, a baker by trade. As I recall, Genoa was hired to temporarily replace Chocolate Eclair, a more veteran chef who had had to take a sabbatical. The Earth Pony did not appear to have a very good first day in the castle. Behind him was one of the centerpiece tower cakes for this evening's event, lying ruined on the floor. I forced the warmest smile I could manage. The day I punish one of my subjects for unintentionally knocking over a single cake is the day I eat my own crown. The weeping Earth Pony blinked up at me with watery eyes. I sighed inwardly. I'm not going to punish you in any way, shape, or form. Please, call Petite Flower, the head chef for the second-floor bakeries, and tell him we will need a replacement cake for this evening. And clean up this mess. All is forgiven, my little pony. Genoa's face was awash with masochistic relief. He scrambled to his hooves and took off at a canter. Petite Flower was a stern chef. The apprentice baker had more reason to fear him than me. "Try not to knock anything else over," I called after him as he made his way to the stairwell. "And try not to call me all the way down there next time you do," I said quietly to myself. Why must it always be like this? Do they enjoy doing it? Is it some kind of new equestrian pastime? Why is it that every time a guard loses his spear, a gardener trims the wrong plant, or some pony accidentally bumps Philomena's cage, I have to endure 10 minutes of weeping, groveling, and begging? I don't enjoy seeing them debase themselves in front of me. I don't want them to sacrifice their dignity for my benefit. I take no pleasure in it at all. Did they? Surely not. So why must they act like this? Am I too strict? Too lenient? What do I have to say or do to get them to stop being so impossibly apologetic all the time? Apologies, Your Majesty. Flash Sentry nervously approached, picking his way around the corpse of the tower cake. Whatever is the matter? I asked. The delegates from Stalliongrad have arrived, he said, making a clean and practiced salute. I felt a stab of irritation. How is that something you have to apologize for? Flash stared blankly back at me, caught entirely off guard, no pun intended. I'm sorry, Your Majesty? His response did little to quell my rising temper. What are you sorry for? I snapped. Flash stammered desperately. Please, if I've offended Your Majesty, then I offer my most humble apologies. I'm not sure how I— Stop apologizing! I felt my wings flare in anger. The air hisses and sizzles around us with the sudden spike in my magical output. I'm sorry. Flash shuddered in terror, realizing his mistake immediately and shutting his mouth. I forced myself to take a deep breath and calm down. Sometimes I forgot how intimidating I can be. There was a time once when all I wanted was for them to fear me, when I stalked battlefields, raining fire and fury down on my cringing adversaries. But that was a different time. This was not wartime. This was a golden era of peace that I had crafted with my own hooves. It had been half a millennia since any pony had seen me engage in combat. So why do they still tremble before me? Has my frightening power been so ingrained in their consciousness that even their children cower before me? Do they still whisper stories of those dark times behind my back? I glared down at the now whimpering Flash. I've never done anything to hurt you, nor have you witnessed me harming so much as a fly in all the years you've been in my service. Why must there be this unbreakable wall of apologies and formalities between us? Why can we not just be friends? At least, that is what I wanted to say to him. I can be a coward too sometimes. Instead, I said, "In truth, it is I who should be sorry, my dear subject. I have had a terrible migraine, and I let it affect my temperament. Please, have Raven escort the delegates to the main hall. I will meet them anon." Flash Sentry looked like he was on the verge of apologizing again, but thankfully he thought better of it. "Yes, your majesty," he said, and with a flap of his wings, he was gone. Gone to tell the others I'm in a foul mood, no doubt. All the more reason to fear the great and terrifying Celestia. I need a few minutes alone before I can face them. I stepped elegantly over the cake that Genoa had destroyed and made my way to my private quarters. Perhaps a few minutes of pressing my face against the cool stone wall of my bedroom would help me gather my resolve and calm my agitation. As I made my way up the stairwell, I could hear the voices of the guards at my chamber door as they echoed down the stairwell to greet me as I ascended.
Not bad, but try this one for size. A donkey, a unicorn, and Celestia walk into a bar. The donkey says to the unicorn, "Do you know why donkeys don't get cutie marks?" And the unicorn says, "No, why?" So the donkey turns to Celestia and says...
The guard trailed off as he saw me approaching, the color rapidly draining out of his face.
"Says what?"
asked his companion, oblivious to my impending presence.
He says, thank you for the constantly watching over Equestria and for your unending kindness and clemency," he replied stiffly.
"And then what does he say?"
"Nothing. That's the end of the joke."
"Well, that doesn't make any sense. What kind of joke is... Oh."
The other guard silenced himself as well, finally noticing me standing behind him. "Don't do it. Please don't do it. Don't beg. Don't grovel. Don't.
I'm not in the mood for... Your Highness, please forgive us. We were watching your room diligently, I swear. I would never dream of insulting the crown. Please," he begged.
"Shut
up."
I swept past both of them and slammed the door of my room behind me, exhaling all my frustrations, tearing off my crown and flinging it onto my bed. I listened to the guards hissing blame at one another and then hurriedly quieting themselves in a crescendo of shushes on the other side of the door. They can be so ridiculous sometimes. How do I tell them what it is that I want? It's just a joke. You can tell a joke or two at my expense. I'd laugh along with you if only you'd let me. I'm so lonely. Crushingly lonely. I bit my lip. Where is Luna right now? Probably asleep. I wonder if she would be upset if I woke her up to talk. I need some pony to talk to. Any pony. And not the careful, calculated, politically correct princess-speak kind of talk, but something real. All I need is... An explosion broke my melancholy ponderings. The huge stained-glass window on the western wall had burst into 1,000 tiny pieces and showered across the floor as a small, gray lump hurtled into the room. It crashed into my royal bed, burying itself in a mountain of silk sheets and plush cushions. An assassin? I hadn't had to face an assassin in years, but who else would have the courage to barge into my private bedchambers? A thief, perhaps? At this time of day? I carefully approached the wriggling pile of blankets and telekinetically plucked them apart. What my investigation revealed was a small gray pegasus kicking and struggling free of my blanket. A pegasus currently wearing my crown. She struggled to her hooves and stood on the bed, staring right at me. Well, at least one of her eyes was staring right at me. To be continued.